Hey, hello. My name is Kimira Lewis, and I am currently a senior public health major, as well as a graduate student in the biostatistics and epidemiology program. And today I decided to do my presentation on the pre-seed proceed model. All right, just to start off, I'll show my table of contents. So I'll first go over the origins of the pre-seed proceed model, and then the key components, the measurement of key constructs, and then I'll also be talking about the strengths and weaknesses, application of model examples, and then my references at the end. All right, so to give a bit of background about the pre-seed proceed model, this model was created by Lawrence Green and Marshall Kruder. In the picture on the left, that is Lawrence Green. So the pre-seed proceed model has provided moral and practical guidance for the fields of health education and health promotion since pre-seed was first developed in 1974 by Green, and then later on, the proceed was added by Green and Kruder in 1991. And so this model provides an 8-phase framework for practitioners to determine, develop, implement, and evaluate health promotion programs, including the application of health promotion theories systematically within such programs. All right, moving on to the first key element, pre-seed, and over to the right is the acronym for pre-seed, which stands for predisposing, reinforcing, enabling constructs, and educational diagnoses and evaluation. And so the foundation of pre-seed is based around the idea that educational diagnoses should come before intervention plans, just as medical diagnoses comes before treatment plans. And so this basically means that a thorough evaluation of a specific population should be done before trying to treat that population, because if you don't have that crucial information that you need in the assessment, then the implementation that you create most likely will not work. And so this strategy addressed a worry expressed by many experts in the field, which they thought that health education placed too much emphasis on putting programs into place and not enough emphasis on creating treatments that were carefully thought out to fulfill needs that could be shown. All right, and so here are the phases of pre-seed and proceed. Here the phases of just pre-seed. And so in phase one, we have the social assessment. And in the social assessment, um, in this assessment, um, you all right, so here are the phases of pre-seed. There are 4 phases in the first half. So we have phase one, which is the social assessment. And in this phase, you determine what the community wants and needs to improve its quality of life. And then phase two is the epidemiological assessment. And in this phase, you determine the health problems or other issues that affect the community's quality of life. And then phase three, we have educational and ecological assessment. And in this phase, you determine what to do in order to change the behavioral and environmental factors. And then in phase four, we have the administrative and policy diagnoses. And in this phase, we are designing programs or interventions and the support for them through administrative and policy diagnoses. Okay, moving on to the next key construct, which is proceed. And over to the left is the acronym for that. And it stands for Policy, Regulatory, Organizational Constructs in Educational and Environmental Development. And so once again, this construct was created in 1991. and was added to the framework to recognize the importance of environmental factors as determinants of health and health behaviors. All right, and here are the last four phases of pre-seed proceed. So we have phase 5, which is implementation, and this is where you're actually implementing the program that you created and you're conducting that intervention. And then phase 6, we have the process evaluation, and this is where we determine whether the intervention is actually taking the actions that were intended in the first place. And then phase 7, we have the impact evaluation. And in this phase, we're determining whether the intervention is having its intended effects on behaviors or the environment. And then in phase 8, we have the outcome evaluation. And in this phase, we are determining whether the intervention brought about improvements in quality of life identified by the community as its desired outcomes. Okay, and here is just pictured a figure of the pre-seed proceed model for health program planning and evaluation. So as seen, we have all the phases at the top and the bottom, 1 through 8, and then in the middle are factors that kind of like bounce off of each other, predisposing factors, reinforcing, enabling, all of these which lead to health and kind of determine one's quality of life. All right, some strengths of the pre-seed proceed model is that data is able to be collected at multiple stages. It facilitates collaborative efforts within communities, and it tells you exactly what you need to do. So it's just kind of clear cut the exact plan for how you're going to go about doing your assessment and evaluation and so on. And then it also considers the ways in which administrative and policy guidelines can limit or shape an intervention. And then it sets up distinct planning phases and interventions. And so some weaknesses of the pre-seed proceed model is that it does have a rigid structure, slow to implementation. It takes a good bit of time to actually see if change has occurred in the population after an intervention. And then it can sometimes be somewhat complex. All right, and so here's the first example of the application of the pre-seed proceed model that I found. And so the title of this research was Application of the Pre-seed Proceed Planning Model in Designing an Oral Health Strategy. And this is by Brinkley and Johnson. And so in the text, it provides a comprehensive application of pre-seed proceed planning model to design and evaluate an oral health strategy for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, also known as IDD, in the United States. The model is used to assess various factors that contribute to oral health disparities in this population, including social, epidemiological, behavioral, environmental, educational, and ecological factors. And so the pre-seed component involves a thorough assessment of the social and epidemiological factors affecting oral health, as well as an analysis of the educational and ecological factors that could lead to behavior change. And the proceed component focuses on implementing and evaluating the strategy, including a pilot study and a future randomized controlled clinical trial to demonstrate its effectiveness. And so the document also emphasizes the importance of using planning models in health behavior theory in developing interventions, and it outlines the 8-phase planning process used in the study. And so ultimately, the results section discusses the findings from pre-seed assessment, which includes a conceptual framework and an oral health strategy linked to social cognitive theory and the health action process approach. The strategy is designed to address predisposing, enabling, and reinforcing factors that influence caregiver behavior and the oral health of adults with IDD. All right, and here is the second example of the application of the pre-seed proceed model. And so the title of this research was called Application of the pre-seed proceed model and the development of evidence-informed interventions for drowning prevention, a mixed method study protocol. And this is by Guevara and others. So the document presents a mixed method study protocol that aims to develop evidence-informed interventions for drowning prevention using the pre-seed proceed model. Drowning is a very big issue in Drowning is a very significant issue in public health, particularly in low and middle income countries like the Philippines, where it is estimated that over 5,200 people die annually from drowning. This study was conducted in Los Baños, Laguna, 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 Philippines, an area with a high drowning rate. So the pre-seed proceed model, it had the 8-step health promotion planning and evaluation model that guided the study through data collection, analysis, intervention, development, and evaluation. And so data was gathered from various sources, including death records, community observations, key informant interviews, focus group discussions, and a community survey. And so here you can see that is in the first few phases of the pre-seed proceed model, specifically the pre-seed, where they're gathering that information and trying to assess what needs the community needs. And so the study protocol includes detailed phases for the pre-seed proceed model with key questions and data sources for each step, the study site, sampling design, data collection instruments, and data gathering procedures were described in detail. All right, and then here are my references. And then thank you so much for your time.